Let's give it one more second. Me with all my windows, all the things monitoring right now. Well, you know what I say, let's go ahead, and I know our time is short here, so why don't we go ahead and get started, and people are going to join as time passes and all of that. So let me first say and just welcome you all to the session. I really appreciate you all being here. My name is Mary Hunter Caudle. I'm the Associate Director for Economic Development at Georgia Tech, representing Georgia Tech and Tech Square in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm really excited to be your moderator today. So I will be the person fielding all of your questions and guiding us along during this discussion, but I'm not the person that you want to hear from. So let me introduce Dr. Martha Leal Gonzalez with the Institute of Innovation and Technology Transfer of Nuevo Leon in Mexico. We also have Emma Carlo Guerrero with the same institute on the line as well. So we thank you both for being here. Before I turn it over to Dr. Leal Gonzalez, I do want to make a couple housekeeping announcements. So we are operating under the assumption that you have not had a chance to view the session, the pre-recorded session video. If that is not the case, please let us know and we will move on to the Q&A portion. But we're gonna operate as if you've never seen us or heard from us, and we'll go with there. Before we kick it over to Dr. Leal Gonzalez, I will also, just a reminder, please put all of your questions and discuss the content with your colleagues and your peers in the chat function. So that is where I will be able to look and see if you have any questions and be able to field those for the Q&A portion of this session at the very end of the conversation. But please pop those questions in there as you see them, and then we'll go through that at the very end. And with that, Dr. Leal Gonzalez, I will turn it over to you. Thank you so much again for being here.
Thank you all. Thank you very much for your attention, and thank you for inviting us to share with you these activities that we have been doing at the park. I will do a very quick recap, okay, of what we have prepared, just in case you hadn't seen the presentation that we prepared for this. And let's see. So we're going to talk about what we're doing in Monterrey, Mexico. Where is Monterrey, Mexico? Well, for both of you that they don't know us, you know, we are near the border with Texas, you know, 2 hours drive by car. And we are quite a society that has a lot of human talent, because we have 4 big universities, major universities, that actually graduate around 10,000 students in engineering and science careers. So we are a preferred destination for foreign direct investments as well. So we get more or less 10% of Mexico's FDI, you know, last year. And we have a GDP per capita higher than the national average, that is around $10,000. Obviously, we're known as the manufacturing capital of Mexico, and we're trying to change that to get to know as the knowledge, economy, and society capital of Mexico as well. So what the way that we're doing that is that we've been working in the model for the state's innovation ecosystem since 2009. So you can see we're concentrated in creating infrastructure for science, technology, innovation, develop talent, develop tech-based business, and create or have enough researchers to create R&D projects as well that are useful for the society, the community, or the industry. What we do as well is we have a law that actually helps us, protect us against what it should, but it doesn't really actually behaves like that with 1% of the state investment budget for science, technology, and innovation. It doesn't get to that, but they give us some budget as well. And everything is metrics, you know, if you can measure things, you can actually better them. So we have a set of indicators that help us to measure the impact of this model in the ecosystem. We're working with 13 clusters. We call it that a high R&D intensity, not because they are higher than some of the one of the medium high R&D intensity that we put there, but because in our state, they need more help from the R&D. You know, it's aspirational clusters, nanotechnology, biotechnology, aeronautics, and medical services. We don't have that many companies or researchers in medical devices or in our special traveling or biotechnology or nanotechnology. So we're working quite hard with the universities to get more of those. So for that end, we invested in this infrastructure that is called the Research and Technology Innovation Park, PIT. As you can see, we have 110 hectares exclusively for R&D centers. No manufacturing is allowed at the park. Right now, we have 40 R&D centers in the first 70 hectares that are urbanized. And we're planning for 4 high-impact incubators. We already have 2, nanotechnology and biotechnology, working in the park. What we have invested as a state is around $100 million, and the total that is invested in the park is around $600 million between federal government, private companies, and the state. So we are estimating that in the next 40 hectares, we will have another 10, 15, 20 centers maybe, and we're expecting to get 50 by 2025. So the jobs that we have already, the 3,000 jobs will be converted to 6,000 jobs. Now, as you can see, the statistics of the park, we are doing quite well in preparing people as well for master and for PhDs from different universities that are located at the park and research centers. And we do well with the linkage with the industry as well in the applications for patents. This is a timeline of from when the park was signed for the creation of the pit to now. So you could see how it's been evolving with the time, what we're planning for the future, and with all this critical mass already in the park, we started to generate statistics and data that could be useful for the indicators and the histories, you know, the case success stories in history. So we made a survey about how many people were working in the park, and from those, how many were women and how many were men. So as you can see, these answers from the 3 types of centers that we have at the park, women are less than 30%. You know, the research, women working in research, okay? So this was in 2019. But moreover, these women, that is, they are not that many anyway, they didn't know which other women were doing in the park and what were they doing if they didn't belong to their centers. So more or less 10 years after we started with the first center, we decided to establish a Women in STEM at PIT committee. So what we're doing with it is trying to get all the women in the park to get each other, to help consolidating their capabilities, and promoting initiatives between the diverse research centers. Even if it is a Women in STEM committee, the activities that is doing are related to consolidate the network in the park, to get this like a open innovation pool as well, and serving as a mentor and a sample for young people, women as well. We established this in 2018, as I said. We started with a panel, Challenges of Women in STEM, you know, and there were 4 researchers at the park. And this was a very interesting and thought-provoking meeting, because one of the participants was a transgender, and she was quite great explaining the life experience she has to the others and how she is a researcher very well known in her field. So this is a great example to share with other people and other women. The goals of the committee, as I said, that not only related to women participation in science, is as well to promote the open innovation environment between the centers in the park, with the centers outside and other stakeholders like the clusters of the ecosystems. We try to encourage more participation of R&D centers in different initiatives within the park. We're trying to consolidate this livelihood around the park. To increase awareness in the ecosystem community about the R&D projects carried out of PIT. Some of the people outside the park only knows as the red arc going to the airport, but they don't know what we're doing. To promote the balance between personal and professional lives of PIT for PIT workers as well. And to provide, last but not least, to provide role model system for young women. We are quite trying to achieve that in the 3 years that we're going to have in existence. And for that, we have different activities. This is some example of the things that we have done, seminars and conferences, some of R&D, some of wellness. So we're trying to get the interest of the researchers, not only in their areas of specialty, but in the well-being of their self, okay? And things that could be of interest to everyone. Obviously, we have to switch, as everyone else, to webinars in 2020, and we're hoping to get better next year, 2021, better luck with the presential activities. The visit to R&D centers as well was actually suspended, this activity, but we were doing it monthly at the different centers, and we invited not only women but men, because as I said, it's very important to consolidate these open innovation nodes in Monterrey, that everyone knows what they are doing. So for the role of in young women, we started with a series of A Day in the Life of, and it was a special video, infographics, or flyer about the experience and life of a researcher working at the PIT that she will share with we will share via mailings or web spaces and networks to everyone. And the Let's Talk About Science were road tables aimed to mid-level female students, preparatory level. We have it here, or high school, I think, in the United States, about scientific topics to interest them in earlier stages to science. These are suspended as well. Cultural and sport activities, this was a great success in the park. We're a community that, although it's near the city, is not connected, not yet, to parks, recreational park or spaces or whatever. So we're starting with the cinema club, reading club, sports club, and it is a success. We hope to have be able to do that in 2021 as well again. Now, as you can see, this group emerges only the initiative of one person, one researcher at the Center of Schneider Electric, who is the leader of the activities right now. And after that, the number of collaborators has increased to have representatives of almost a third of the centers at the PIT, but mostly, as you can see, our networks has grown with the social networks. Our group in Facebook has had quite a success. We have around 12,000 reach, and interaction with the publication is more or less, quite high, 773. And we have new likes in the page, like 25 per month, almost, something like that. So it has been a discovery for us, that we will be able to reach all these people. So the pandemic, COVID-19 was actually giving us some good things from it, that we could actually contact people from other countries as well through our webinars, because we already published them in Facebook. So we could We're evaluating how other tools we can use because some of the webinars had more than 100 people, and we weren't able to admit all of them in the platform we were using. So we're trying to see which one will be better, you know. Meanwhile, we have to pre-register to the events, you know, to avoid this not letting the people in. The thing is, we have been working with high school preparatory girls and some of the, but we haven't done nothing with basics schools, you know. So like primary and secondary, as we were called here in Monterrey. And we do have programs between the institute that manages the park about this. We have Women in Science, for example, and WIDE, Women Innovation Driven Entrepreneurship. We're working with them as well. And what we're, sorry, this is another, I'll finish the first thought. So we're working with the others, with the leaders of the others projects and programs that we have with small young girls to get them to know the women at women in STEM at the pit, because we think it's very important for them to get to know and get acquainted with women researchers. This is some other initiatives that are coming, that are around the city as well, that some of them, we are actually promoting them, like Women in Science and this WIDE Women Innovation Driven Entrepreneurship, that is actually trying to get the girls and the researchers into doing more entrepreneurship. It's not enough just to get something coming out of the lab and not to see if it could be implemented in real life. So we're trying to get them to think about innovation, to get into the society, to the market, and not leaving everything in the lab, okay? It's good for basic science, science done at the frontier of the knowledge, but applied science has to be out of the labs and going into the companies or the society or the community. So this Women Innovation Impact was celebrated this October, and it actually congregated the researchers, the women researchers in Nuevo León, and some, as I said, as it was a virtual event, it actually connected people from Ecuador, Colombia, Argentina, etc., Chile. And we're trying to make this thought to get into the minds of the researchers. You could be an innovator and an entrepreneur as well. And what it says, you know, we will try to connect, the next step is try to connect women in STEM at PIT with these other projects that we're already working in Nuevo León, Tecnolochicas, Quantric, Science in the Family, Chicas Code, that is done to interest young people into science at the very early stages, okay? Thank you very much, that's it. I hope you enjoy the presentation, and I'm ready for any question that you have or comments.
Well, first of all, Dr. Leal Gonzalez, thank you so much for that amazing presentation. If you want to, we can, if you want to stop sharing your screen, we can go back and forth, and yeah, there we go. Well, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. Please, you know, as we start this Q&A portion of the session, please do type your questions into the chat, you know, talk with us, do whatever it is that you do. We want to hear your questions. So I guess to kick things off, I know I heard throughout your presentation, just so many really good things going on, a lot of success, but also, you know, I heard a lot about COVID-19 and some of the challenges that this year has presented. Could you go into a little bit more detail about the main challenges this committee faces that may have an impact on its future success as it goes into, you know, rounding out 2020 and going into 2021?
Yeah, I'll let Emma answer this one.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Marta. Thank you, Mary. Well, other than the pandemics, as you well commented, right now we are trying to invite people from other R&D centers at the PIT to get involved in the activities of this committee. So we can have a representation for more, from more residents of the park, and not only around a third, like Dr. Martha commented during the presentation. Also, we are working on making sure everyone knows that even this committee started as a way to give a voice to all the female researchers at the PIT. The activities we organize are not limited to women, and we would like to have more men involved as participants, and also we would like to start to have some men also participating as organizers and promoters of these activities. A more important challenge, given the evolution of the, or given the evolution the committee has had over the last 2 years, is to define like a structure. Right now, we only have a leader, as also was mentioned during the presentation. She had the initial idea of this working group, of this initiative. And we, as the activities are taking place, we assign them to someone. But we think we could have kind of a board and smaller groups working on these activities. I think it's important to mention here that all the participants are working pro bono. This means we are not getting paid extra for these activities. So it is a big challenge to manage the day-to-day activities we have in our organizations, and also collaborating in the committee. So with this board or this structure, we think we will probably maybe have more impact, since the people could like appropriate for the activities and work a little bit harder on them. But for this, we will need more people also to be working at the committee. I don't know if Dr. Marta has anything else to comment.
No, I think you resume very well. I mean, the thing I get as most important is to get this small committee within in the committee or board, that, because we need people that actually can do this job. At least to have one, maybe, you know, administrator or something of the activities, and be sure that everyone knows about them. That's something that we have to encourage and to have next year.
No, that's great. I'm already kind of thinking a lot of follow-up questions from that, but I know that you mentioned, you know, of course, having that support structure there, and it looks like at Pitt you have an amazing infrastructure in place for the growth and development of your partners, and it sounds like you're using that same infrastructure to build up the Women in STEM initiative. Could you talk a little bit about just the evolution of the partners involved, and kind of what motivates all of your partners to be involved in the Women in STEM initiative, and also in general, just in Pitt, kind of what brings everyone together? Is it an industry focus? Is it access to talent? Is it, you know, talk a little bit about kind of what your partnerships are based upon, and kind of what drives the district forward.
Okay, if I say overall to the park, you know, obviously what the companies or the universities that are attracted to put their R&D centers, because it's not manufacturing, as I said, it's R&D centers in the park, is that they have the nearness and the communication with the main universities in the state. The Tec de Monterrey, that is the private university, the largest one in Mexico, is there. And Universidad de Nuevo León, that is state university, is there. And we have 8 research centers, public research centers from the national system of research centers. So the companies see all that and see that they could have a partner in projects to accelerate the results in the centers, and they decide to be installed there, you know, because they see it as an open innovation node that they could be taking advantage of. The thing is, up to now, we haven't been able to, and the Women in STEM Committee has been actually helping with that a lot, to get, you know, to get them to know each other. I mean, they have a first approach, and they know if they are really, really in the same field, they do know each other, but some other people could use that as a idea of cross-fertilization to do some new projects. So that's what this committee is trying to do with this visit to the centers, et cetera, et cetera. Now, for the people in the committee, that the women that are working in it, what it really attracts them to be part of the committee is their social responsibility. You know, they really want to make a mark in the life of other women or the society, the community that we are at PIT, you know. So they work as Emma said, pro bono, to make the park a better environment to live. Emma, you have something to say?
Yes, to live and to work. And yes, I think it is important to highlight that the women right now working at the committee, and it's something that makes this also attractive to promote these partnerships, are that these women belong to different centers, both public, private, and from universities. They're not all of them like public. So it's an interesting mixture.
Well, speaking of that mixture, and I promise I'm not monologuing here. Everyone, throw your questions into the chat, please. We want to hear from you. But speaking of the mixture of everyone that's a part of these, a part of PIT, especially in the Women in STEM committee, I heard you talk a little bit about the incubators that are located in PIT in nanotechnology and biotechnology right now. But what's so interesting is your future planned incubators in IT and renewable energy. And I wondered, are there future plans, or are the Women in STEM committee planning to target women within these particular industries, or you already have kind of the you want to keep the general focus within women in STEM, but you want to make sure that you have representation from all of the different industries? Kind of talk to me a little bit about the industry makeup of women in STEM and kind of the efforts you're taking as specific to the industries that you're targeting within PIT to encourage people to join and get more involved within the committee and with the district as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, they know that if they are at the committee, they have first chance to get one webinar, one activity that involves getting first hand with the possibly participants in the future in R&D, you know? So they are interested in attracting more people to their centers, to whatever they're doing. And regarding the incubators, all the centers in the park is a multi, how do you say that's thematic, disciplinary, multidisciplinary center, but it's involved more with advanced manufacturing, bio, nano, and electronics, and some agro, some bio, as I said, bio and agro technologies. So the women there, obviously, when they because they help us with the seminars and the conferences, they try to propose the best they know in the area, so they can get more people attracted to the seminar. And in fact, some of them have invited people, as Emma said, from outside the park to get this networking wider, and making it so everybody knows. So I would say that they are concentrated in trying to attract more people to R&D, to science, technology, but not necessarily into one specialty, or areas of technology.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting, and something you just said here kind of it seems like there's broad-based support for this initiative, whether it comes from the private sector, entrepreneurs, universities, public sector. And so I wanted to ask you specifically about that public sector support. Does your region, your state, or the nation as a whole have any public policy or particular initiatives that backs this up, or would support similar initiatives that you can talk a little bit about from the state level, about that sort of support, moving away from the private sector and the universities, but more on the state level with the district as a whole?
Yeah, but Let me tell you, this is a more like a grassroots movement. You know, it started with the women first, and then it has been growing up and try to make. Then we start with ideas of some policies. You know, why not do this in the law? In the law, right now we're in the process of changing of publishing the new law for science, technology, and innovation of the state. And in this law, we made reference that it has to be programs and projects specifically trying to close the gender gap in science, technology, and innovation. So we don't really have right now a program like that, but we have been working in projects, as I say, you know, like Chica's Code, that is teaching girls, and Technology Chica, that's for girls only, you know, to show them how to code, and Women in Science with the University of Nuevo León. That has been really successful. But they are projects. So we are aiming within the law to get into programs, you know, so we can have them, as you said, permanently year after year.
No, that's fascinating. I'm thinking about, you know, you're talking about your influence with rewriting you know, state level laws focused on science and technology. You're talking about the influence of the women on your committee and men who are participating, and you're talking about this community, and I'm really struck by just the breadth of the impact that Pitt has, but also Women in STEM, and already the impact that that group is showing. And it kind of brings me to a question about when you were talking at the very beginning, you were talking about measuring that impact, and you were talking about how you would measure that. How do you two, both you, Martha, and you, Emma, how do you measure success for this committee, and how do you hope to measure success in the future for it?
Well, right now we are focusing on the scope of the activities. No, the more participants we have, the more audience we have. Right now with the virtual webinars, I think it's the bigger the impact we are having. No, and in the future, the goal is to have more women in science, of course. But right now, at this stage of the sector of the science and technology in the state, we want to attract more researchers or to have more people working in R&D activities, no matter if they are women or men. So right now we want to increase the number of researchers and people working in R&D activities.
Yeah, so, and the other indicators that we're focusing for the next year is going to be to get more centers working with us, you know, because we have one there, and that will be a measure of success. If we interest the other centers to participate, that means that we're doing something that they consider useful, you know, and the number of activities that we have, you know, as well.
I wanted to ask about I've heard you mention about webinars and this content. Talk to me a little bit more about the content of the webinars. Are you driving that content based on the community, the demand of the community? Talk to me a little bit more about the development of that, and what sorts of things are you talking about, and what sort of needs are you hearing from your community?
Well, Emma is the one that has been very near from the committee, so I let her to answer these questions.
Thank you. Well, we try to vary the topics of the webinars. The main goal is to make connections or to create collaboration opportunities for the participants and for the R&D centers. But we also detected the need, for example, as women, some of them are like mothers and we have selected some topics, as you could see in the presentation, about breastfeeding at the workplace or about breast cancer. But the webinars vary about the topic. So we try to integrate wellness topics as well as R&D topics.
Wow, some of the last webinars that we have done is over COVID-19. You know,
Yes.
It's the topic on everyone's minds.
Yeah.
And that kind of brings me to one of the last questions I had for you about COVID-19. Everyone is talking about it. So, um, how are you? I heard you speak about COVID in terms of challenges, but also the opportunities is
Mhm.
provided and some silver linings. And so, would you mind talking about the impact of the pandemic and how the pandemic has pushed you guys to think about things in a different way and pivot to still provide that same value to for committee members and to PID as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this the first thing that you have to have is a good cell phone and internet connection, and after that, you start experimenting with the platforms. Um, yeah, I mean, I think not everyone, well, at least not me, was comfortable talking to a camera, somewhere in the, web space, and now you don't know what's going to happen with it. You don't see in the other person exactly as she, the corporal, the body language that they could have and to answer your question or to help you with the conversation. But this is a skill that you have to develop anyway. So I have been able to learn, some things that I never thought I would be using. I would say no, and now it's very, very useful for us because we don't have to translate ourselves to a point, in the city and lose time with that. The other thing that has helped us to understand is it doesn't matter. We as humans, we need to be connected. It's very important for us to get connection, to exchange ideas and thoughts, and then get something better from that communication. So we had we had to transcend the physical meetings, and to go into this virtual, but we're doing it quite happily because we're connecting, and something, and as I said, this has been better than being in person because we connect with people with other cities, other states, other countries that we didn't know we could reach. And we discovered that we have the same interest, or we can work common in something. So that is something that is something that you have to learn too, and to treat the virtual world as the real world, and that you're working and giving your imprint in that area as well. So you have to behave and do the best you can. Emma?
Yeah, basically that, and also I think it's kind of I don't know which word is romantic to start using these technologies we promote. So to use technology and innovation to stay connected and to keep working virtually.
Yeah, but I mean, it's something that most people now prefers to have a doctor's consultation through the internet than going to their, the clinical space. They don't want to go, so they're actually learning to use this to better their lives.
Mm-hmm.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I'm sorry. No, like you said, like this, the silver linings of this pandemic. Now we get to reach more people because not only in the park, but we save, for example, some time going from one place to another. So we are virtually everywhere right now.
No, that's incredible, and the concept of resiliency and also looking for that silver lining. I've heard a lot of that throughout this entire week thus far at AURP, and so this brings me to my last question that I have for you guys before we wrap up our time together this afternoon. If the members of AURP who are watching this session or who might be watching at a later time or whatever, if they're looking to learn more, if they're looking to get involved or connect in some way, how should they do that? Tell the audience kind of what's the next step and where they can go to learn more and connect with you guys and support what you're doing in Mexico.
Right, that would be a great thing if that would happen. We're quite willing to hear from you and make, from you all, and try together to get a better way to do things. They could visit our website, pit.com or .org. There's a www.pit.org. Or from there, they could work for Mujeres en el Parque. Emma, ¿cómo se llama? How do you name exactly?
In Facebook.
In Facebook, yeah.
It's Mujeres is like women in Spanish. Mujeres, IDI, PIT. Maybe we can email it to you.
IDI is Research, Development, and Innovation. You know, Mujeres IDI at PIT. You know, there's maybe some difficult, but I think didn't we put it in the presentation? If not, you have our email, so you can contact us, please, if you want to know anything else, and we will be quite happy to hear from you. Thank you.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much. Yes, I know that the contact information and all of the everything will be shared as a part of AURP. So that's fantastic. I see a raised hand in the chat. So someone wants to get in contact and learn more. And so that's fantastic to see. Well, I want to wrap us up. I want to keep us on time. But first, let me just say a huge thank you to you, Martha, and to you, Emma. Thank you for your time, and also just in general, thank you for the work that you're doing and for sharing it with us as a part of the AURP conference here this week. It was a delightful conversation. I loved learning about what you're doing. And so I just want to say thank you so much on behalf of AURP for sharing your insights with us.
Thank you. Thank you to AURP as well, you know, to let us share this. So it's a great opportunity to do it. And I'm quite happy that they decided to do it virtual because it's giving us another opportunity.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all. Thank you to all of our attendees, and we will wrap up our session. I hope you have a good rest of your evening, and we will see you back at, I guess, during the next session. So thank you so much, guys. Have a great night.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Stay safe.